Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. The shockwaves of the trade war continue to impact China. At least 4 different sources confirm that the CCP is preparing for war. The first source is a Reuters report. According to Reuters, the CCP has put civilian government officials in Beijing on wartime footing. It ordered foreign affairs and commerce officials to cancel vacation plans and keep mobile phones on 24/7. The second source is Yuan Hongbin, a former Peking University professor with many contacts within the CCP system. Yuan says the CCP was unprepared for the decisive economic attack launched by Trump, but under pressure, it must respond fully. Insiders say the CCP's Central Committee issued a secret document on handling the escalating tariff war. CCP officials at provincial, municipal, and county levels entered secure rooms on April 7th, 8th, and 9th to read it. They were not allowed to take notes, copy, or photograph it. The document's title says the initiative and leadership in navigating the great changes unseen in a century through a decisive and historic struggle. This title reflects the CCP's general policy for countering Trump's tariff war. The document claims the U.S. tariff war is not just an economic challenge, but the first battle in a total war covering politics, economy, military, and culture. It calls on the entire CCP and the military to follow Xi Jinping's strategy. Through a decisive great struggle, it aimed to defeat the U.S. economic, military, and political dominance since World War II. The document is about 7,000 words long, since it can only be read in secure rooms without recording, copying, or photographing. The details come from insiders' memories. The document first sets guidelines for the tariff war. It demands that the CCP's United Front Work Department and the Foreign Ministry work together. For the foreseeable future, international United Front work is the top priority. The focus is to exploit global dissatisfaction with Trump's tariff war. The CCP aims to build a strong international economic united front with developed nations like Germany, France, the UK, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and China's neighbors. This front will defend the global economic order centered on the World Trade Organization. If Trump pushes the tariff war to the end, the United Front's power will bring in warring countries like India and Vietnam. By isolating the U.S., the CCP aims to end America's economic dominance. To achieve these economic war guidelines, the document proposed 2 international financial plans. The first targets party government and state-owned enterprise officials with overseas deposits over $200,000 US. The CCP wants a record of these funds. If a major economic decoupling from the U.S. becomes necessary, these officials' families must transfer deposits from the U.S. to China or other countries. Non-compliance will be punished as treason. The second plan prepares a full decoupling. If the CCP decides to decouple, it aims to sell off $1 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds and $2 trillion in U.S. corporate stocks and bonds in the shortest time possible. In the economic war, the document stresses improving China's self-reliant economic cycle. It orders all government levels to prepare to partially or fully restore the rationing system to handle tough times. The document calls this rationing system restoration a killer weapon to defeat Trump's economic war. In international politics, the document demands that the CCP's International Liaison Department and Foreign Ministry strengthen strategic ties with Russia, Iran, and North Korea as the foundation for countering Trump's challenges. It also calls for deeper relations with neighboring and southern countries, especially boosting economic, cultural, political, and military presence in Southeast Asia like Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand. The CCP aims to exploit Europe and Canada's anger over Trump's tariff war to weaken or dismantle NATO. By using economic conflict, it seeks to strain U.S. ties with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. The document says this would not only isolate the U.S. economically, but also strip it of its role as global police, ending America's 80-year political dominance since World War II. In the military field, the document urges the CCP and the military to follow Xi Jinping's strategy for a military showdown with the U.S. in the Taiwan Strait. It states that if the economic war escalates, a military clash with the U.S. is inevitable. Controlling the battlefield is the first step to victory. The document believes a Taiwan Strait showdown allows the CCP to leverage the strategic depth of the mainland and gain a geographical advantage over the U.S. It describes Xi Jinping's planned Taiwan Strait War as a modern, high-tech, system-based, information-driven conventional war with strong nuclear deterrence. The goal is to destroy U.S. military bases in Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Guam if the U.S. intervenes. This would push U.S. military presence back east of Hawaii, turning America into a regional power. The document claims that only by facing great challenges can great victories be won. After defeating Trump's total war, the CCP's vision of community with a shared future for mankind will guide humanity in the 21st century. The third source of the CCP's active war preparations comes from former CCP official Du Wen. On social media, he says the Chinese military recently installed an app called Strong Enemy Map on officers' phones. The app details all U.S. military units, combat zones, bases, albums, and key personnel to train Chinese officers. The CCP also demands they fear no war and prepare for potential conflict with the U.S. The fourth source is China expert Alexander Liao. He told the Epoch Times that facing a tariff war, the CCP may invade Taiwan to reverse the situation. According to Liao's sources, the People's Liberation Army issued an internal bulletin stating, first, a Taiwan war is inevitable, possibly like the Korean War with peace talks during years of fighting. Second, a war with the U.S. is inevitable. Third, the PLA distributed badges of U.S. military branches to Chinese soldiers to study and identify enemies in combat. Liao said, the atmosphere in the PLA is quite tense. A war could solve many problems for Xi Jinping. The economy would matter less. He could suppress rival factions in the CCP and use an external threat to justify communist rule. Yuan Hongbin also said insiders believe the CCP issued the above-mentioned secret document to calm the extreme panic within the party caused by Trump's tariff war, but it backfired. After the secret document was shared with officials through secret procedures, it didn't stabilize them. Instead, it was like pouring cold water into a hot oil pan, sparking widespread worry. In Beijing's official circles, many believe Xi Jinping's decisive great struggle against Trump could be his final rotten tail or failed project. If it collapses, it may mark the end of the CCP. They also say that the reason why Xi Jinping reacted so strongly against Trump's tariff is because he was convinced by a CCP think tank that if he backs down in the trade war, the US will team up with other countries to bring up the COVID-19 issue, holding the CCP accountable for crimes against humanity and economic damages. This is Xi Jinping's greatest fear, as it was he who directly ordered a cover-up of the pandemic, which allowed it to spread across China and the world. Yuan Hongbin said Beijing's official circles are filled with unprecedented despair. Officials predict that the tariff war's shockwaves could create a massive unemployment crisis in China by summer 2025. Last year, less than one-third of college graduates found 4 more jobs. In 2025, over 12 million more graduates will enter society. Officials fear unemployed graduates and laid-off migrant workers will combine to form the first great wave of Trump's tariff war, shaking the CCP's stability-maintaining mechanisms. In fact, Xi faces 3 political crises. First, grassroots organizations like alumni groups, veteran associations, and migrant worker unions are surging. In early April this year, the CCP's Ministry of Public Security issued an internal warning. It says if the tariff war escalates and the economic worsens, these groups could turn into political organizations that greatly harm social stability. Xi Jinping's second crisis is challenges from 2 CCP factions. Despite opposing ideologies, they share a rare alignment against Xi Jinping's current policies. One faction, led by Deng Xiaoping's son Deng Pufang, is the prisoners. The other is the ultra-left Maoist faction, criticizing Xi Jinping for surrendering to the US, leading to today's troubles. Yuan says these 2 groups have formed a strategic alliance against Xi Jinping. Both are preparing major political documents set for release by 2026, aiming to stop Xi Jinping's re-election at the CCP's 21st Party Congress and seize control of the party's direction. Xi Jinping's third crisis is in the military. As reported before, Xi's iron triangle in the military, like Vice Chairman He Weidong, former Political Work Department Director Miao Hua, Xi's Chief of Staff in the military Zhong Shaojun, have all fallen. Yuan Hongbin says that Miao Hua had a mental breakdown on the first day after being arrested in November last year. He did not sleep all night and began confessing wildly. And first, he gave up more than 80 people in the military. Later, with the help from his 3 secretaries, he named as many as 1,300 military officers. This includes nearly 100 top generals and lieutenant generals. Most of these officers were promoted by Xi Jinping or his close allies. Yuan Hongbin says Xi Jinping's hair turned gray overnight after hearing Miao Hua's confessions. So, with these 3 crises and the looming economic disaster from Trump's tariff war, it is hard to say how long Xi Jinping can hold on. Finally, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to all my supporters. Thanks to the recommendation from Business Basics, my YouTube channel gained nearly 6,000 subscribers in the past 2 days. Several people generously donated via my donation page, including Mr. Harvey, Mr. Bowman, Mrs. Segreto, and others. Regular monthly donors like Mr. Tanner, Carol, Alice, Hernandez, Francesis, Lively, Moody, and some others also support me. Due to time limits, I cannot list everyone, but I sincerely thank all who support me, including viewers watching my videos. Without you, I couldn't keep going. Thank you again, and see you next time.